Hello everyone, welcome back to the Elder Scrolls Online. Today I have my very first build video. This is a Necromancer Healer, well more specifically my Necromancer Healer. I'm not going to sit here and say that this is best in slot for a Necro Healer, but I can say with certainty that this build works and it works well. Some great overtime and AoE healing and fantastic recovery. I find it difficult to fault this build. So I hope you enjoy and find this useful. Let's begin. So this is a basic overview of the build. We have our primary and secondary bars, sets and things like food, mundus and potions. I will be going into more detail on each of these things, so let's start with our primary bar. So on our primary bar, which is a restoration staff, we begin with Illustrious Healing, which is a morph from Grand Healing found within the restoration staff skill line. This skill allows for a real powerful AoE heal over time. You can place it wherever you want and it stays on the ground for 15 seconds, granting anyone within the AoE circle some seriously good healing. Skill number 2 is Radiating Regeneration, which again comes from the Restoration Staff skill line and is a morph from Regeneration. This skill will target up to 3 allies in the area and attach to them a 10-second overtime heal. They are free to move around and aren't restricted by a ground AoE. The heal is very powerful, just make sure to keep refreshing this every 10 seconds. Next is a skill that can be spammed as many times as needed. Resistant Flesh, found within the Living Death skill tree, is a morph from Render Flesh. Not only does this skill heal for a lot of health instantly, but if it also crits, then you can heal any damage dealer from 1% health to 100%. It's very powerful. This skill works similar to Templar's Breath of Life, but this skill is only single target. As a nice added bonus, this morph will also grant the person you're healing physical and spell resistance equal to half the amount healed for 3 seconds. This is where being a healer becomes interesting. Being a healer in ESO isn't just about keeping your teammates alive. Yes, I know that's a very important part, but alongside this you also have buffs. As a good healer, you're expected to not only keep your team alive, but to also buff them up in combat. Skill number 4 is Combat Prayer. Found within the Restoration Staff skill line and morphed from Blessing of Protection, not only does this skill instantly heal your allies, but also grants them Minor Berserk and Minor Resolve. So this will increase your allies' damage done by 5%, whilst increasing their physical and spell resistance, and also healing them for a whopping 10k all at the same time. Keeping this skill up 100% of the time on your teammates, they'll thank you for it. This is where being a Necromancer becomes fun. Skill number 5 is Braided Tether, morphed from Restoring Tether and found in the Living Death skill tree. This skill will allow you to connect yourself and a corpse with a blue beam. Any ally standing near the beam, you or the corpse, will receive some healing over time. It's as simple as that, and an added bonus is that this skill is free to cast. Now we have the ultimate for our primary bar. I absolutely love using Renewing Animation, morphed from Reanimate and found within the Living Death skill tree. Although this ultimate is very expensive, it can literally save a dungeon or trial run from being a complete wipe. This skill will instantly revive up to 3 allies within its AoE. You just drop the ultimate on the dead bodies of your teammates and they will instantly get back up in the fight. You don't need to manually revive each one. Now we move on to our secondary bar, which is a Destruction Lightning Staff. Starting off our secondary ability bar, we have one of my personal favourite skills being a Necro. Necrotic Potency, morphed from Bitter Harvest and found in the Bone Tyrant skill line. This ability allows for a ridiculous amount of ultimate regeneration. Whenever you have corpses around you, simply use this free skill and gain 6 ultimate per corpse, as well as a nice heal. Skill number 2 for our back bar is Spirit Guardian. This friendly ghost can be found in the Living Death skill line and morphed from Spirit Mender. This friendly guy will stay by your side for 16 seconds. Every 2 seconds he will attempt to heal a nearby ally. Also, while active in the field, he will also negate 10% damage that you take, meaning for 16 seconds you're capped at only taking 90% total damage. A great healing buddy, but also a great protector. Skill number 3 comes from the Undaunted skill line and is morphed from Necrotic Orb. Energy Orb is a great skill to use for any occasion. You shoot out a big floating orb that will continually heal all allies around it. Not only that, but if an ally activates the synergy it provides, then they'll not only receive a big burst heal, but also 4,000 of their primary resource restored. So now you're looking out for your allies' resources as well. Skill number 4 is Blockade of Storms, morphed from Wall of Elements and found within the Destruction Staff skill line. Now you might be thinking, why have we got a damaging ability slotted for a healer? Well, this is where the buffs come into play again. Well, in this case, debuffs. Using a Lightning Staff will mean we have a chance to apply the Concussed status effect. If an enemy who is concussed is hit by Blockade of Storms, then they will become off balance. If an ally were to heavy attack an off-balanced enemy, then they will receive more resources, but also, if an ally has the champion point called Exploiter, then they will do more damage to that off-balanced enemy. We also have a Shock enchantment on our Lightning Staff, and Blockade of Storms can also proc this. This means we have a chance to also apply Minor Vulnerability to any enemy hit by this skill. So no healing from this skill, but a lot of buffs and debuffs. Our last skill is another damaging skill. Again, it comes with some great benefits. Unnerving Boneyard, morphed from Boneyard and found in the Gravelord skill line, is an AoE damaging skill. We use this skill, however, because it applies major breach to any enemy hit, reducing their physical and spell resistance by nearly 6,000. Also, it comes with a synergy. If an ally uses this synergy, it will cause an explosion of damage to all enemies nearby, then healing the user for all the damage done. So a skill that benefits the team, but also gives your allies more options to receive healing. Lastly, the secondary bar ultimate. Glacial Colossus, morphed from Frozen Colossus and found within the Gravelord skill line, is a large flesh Atronach that comes out of the ground and punches all enemies in front of him. The only reason why we use this ultimate is because any enemy hit by this massive big boy will then have major vulnerability applied to them for 12 seconds. Don't forget, as I mentioned earlier, we're using a Lightning Staff with a Shock enchantment, which can apply minor vulnerability through status effects. So at one time, we can apply both major and minor vulnerability, allowing our teammates to do a huge 15% more damage to all enemies for 12 seconds. This is an insane debuff to have on enemies. Now we move on to weapons and armour. I'm not going to overcomplicate things, so I'm going to keep it nice and simple. This is a full light armour build. All armour will have the Divine's trait with a max magicka enchantment. All jewellery will have the Arcane trait and a spell damage enchantment. The primary restoration staff will have the precise or powered trait, and the enchantment will be increased weapon and spell damage. The secondary destruction lightning staff will have the infused trait with a shock damage enchantment. Simple as that. So now let's take a look into the actual sets that we use for this build. Starting this off, we have the Maelstrom Restoration Staff. It's called Precise Regeneration. This can be found by completing Maelstrom Arena on normal, or if you want the perfected version, then the arena has to be completed on veteran. We use this on our primary because it offers us a great bit of sustain. Whenever we critically heal with radiating regeneration, we restore a nice bit of magicka. There's no cooldown to this set, it just can't happen simultaneously with another crit heal. Not much detail to go into here. We use a one-piece monster helm because we also run a mythic. I decided to use Earthgore because it gives a 4% boost to healing done. Speaking of the mythic, I introduce you to the Spalder of Ruin. This awesome mythic, once activated with Sneak, will place a big red circle around us. Any ally within this circle will have an increase to their weapon and spell damage by 260, which is actually more than minor courage, at a penalty to my personal recovery. For each ally in the circle, I lose 70 health, magicka and stamina recovery. This really isn't a big deal for this build, as primarily you'll be in dungeons with 3 other people, so you'll lose a maximum of 210 recovery. This isn't much at all, especially for this build, and in return, your allies get a really nice bonus to damage. Now onto our first 5-piece set. Spell Power Cure, found in the White Gold Tower dungeon, is a great buff set for any healer. Spell Power Cure offers some great sustain with an extra 2000 magicka and a little boost to spell damage. The main reason we use this set though is for the major courage we apply to anyone, including ourselves, that we overheal. Overhealing is as simple as it sounds. If you have an ally who is at full health and you place a healing AoE, for example, underneath them, that's overhealing, and that's how you apply Major Courage through Spell Power Cure. Major Courage is a very large boost to weapon and spell damage. You add this to the 260 weapon and spell damage from Spalder of Ruin, we have a real nice increase to our allies' weapon and spell damage. The other 2-piece set, and our last set to discuss, is Winter's Respite. I love this set primarily because it's a great back bar set. I don't need it active on both primary and secondary bars. Again, this set offers some great sustain, but it's the big AoE heal we love most about this. Whenever you use an ability that leaves an effect on the ground, for example, Blockade of Storms or Unnerving Boneyard, you also leave behind a large AoE heal, in the shape of a frozen circle. Anyone inside will receive a large heal every 2 seconds. The circle lasts for 10 seconds and can be procced every 10 seconds, meaning 100% uptime. It's just another AoE heal we can have on the ground to help keep our allies alive. Now on to champion points. I don't need to discuss the green points because that's all passive activities within the game, so therefore it's personal choice to you guys. So let's start with Warfare. We have From the Brink, which is a fantastic get out of jail free card. If you have an ally that drops below 25% health and you heal them, you'll also grant them an 11,000 point damage shield. Just a little extra to get them on their way. Soothing Tide increases our healing done with any AoE, including sets, which will include Winter's Respite. Rejuvenator increases our weapon and spell damage with healing abilities. Sounds confusing, but don't forget, spell damage actually impacts healing just as much as damaging. Swift Renewal will increase our healing done with overtime healing abilities. Anything that will heal allies over a period of time, not instantly. Now over to Fitness. Spirit Mastery decreases the time it takes to revive allies. This is great for getting them back in the fight quicker. Rejuvenation gives us a little extra health, magicka and stamina recovery. Can't go wrong with more sustain. You don't want to be running out of magicka. Fortified is a little boost to armour. A dead healer is a rubbish healer. Lastly, Boundless Vitality, giving us an increase to health. Again, staying alive is kind of important for the healer. Now to talk about extras. Food, Mundus Stones, potions, just the little extras that make a big difference. Starting with food, I personally choose health and magicka. Granted, you could go magicka and magicka recovery, however you don't need more recovery on top of what this build's recovery already is. You could even go tri-stat food, but that's when it gets expensive. Keep it simple, because simple works. Solitude Salmon Millet Soup works perfectly and is super cheap to buy or make. Potions. You can't go wrong with tri-stat potions. Restores health, just in case your personal healing isn't cutting it. Restores magicka, because magicka is the most important thing to this build. And restores stamina for those well-timed blocks and dodge rolls. For the Mundus Stone, we're using the Attribution-NoDerivs. Most healers will choose the Ritual for the increase in healing. However, I find that the increase the Ritual gives you isn't as useful as an extra 500 magicka recovery. In the long run, the Attribution-NoDerivs will be far more helpful than the Ritual. To sum up everything we have discussed, this is our character sheet. Remember that this is out of combat and I have no buffs currently active. Total magicka is in a very comfortable position. Magicka recovery even more so, especially when you realise it will increase by 200 when I summon in the friendly ghost. Health and resistances are perfect, we shouldn't be dying quickly, we can definitely take a punch or two. Spell damage and spell critical I'm not focused on too much because there isn't a separate value for healing spell damage, however 3000 is a comfortable position. All in all, a solid character sheet. Remember, out of combat and no buffs. So there we have it, my Necromancer Healer build. Now remember, there are many sets and skills out there. You don't need to copy this exact build if you don't want to. Experiment, try new things, find what best suits your playstyle. This best suits mine, so I thought I'd share it for those who want to know, but also who might be interested in making a Necromancer Healer. Keep an eye on the channel to see this build in action. I will be posting some dungeon runs soon. If you have any questions, then please drop them in the comments and I'll get back to you ASAP. Or better yet, message me on social media. Thank you all for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Take care, and I'll see you all in the next video.